Wellbeing for managers. Now this video is in two parts. It's for managers that need to improve their own well-being so they can serve others, and managers that need to help their staff with well-being and being a lot more observant and having the emotional intelligence to see what situations are happening around them to support, help and protect team members. Now let me give you two examples. Two people I'm coaching at the moment. One is an accountant. Very senior position, a lot of responsibilities, but he's got a great balance to his well-being. He's really sat down and thought about it. Where am I going with this? With new responsibilities and a young family, lots of things on his plate, plus parents that he's got to look after. But he's very organised. He explains things very well to his people. He delegates and empowers well. And he creates and blocks out time so he can think about what's important to him, so he can be the best that he can be with his well-being, so then he can then support others. He's very good at developing others. He's very good at being assertive and saying no when he needs to be. He will stand up for his team members, and he will fight his corner. And he'll make sure that he's doing it on his terms and making sure that he has got well-being, his family and his people around him. And he's a really good example of what well-being is about as a manager. My second example isn't doing quite so well. They're burnt out, they're frustrated. They've stopped doing things they like because of work pressures, because they're very good at saying yes to everything and everybody. And they're always available. They're always working 24/7, literally. They always feel that they have to be there for their team. They're not challenging and getting people to think for themselves. And they've lost their zip, they've lost their panache, and they're not spending time doing physical activity, eating well, they're starting to have bad eating habits. So there's two examples. Which one are you more leaning towards? Well, and one of them is looking after themselves and therefore their team, and the second one is actually really not looking after their team because they're not looking after themselves, and their team are starting to see the frustrations and the pressure and the stress creeping in. So as a manager, you've got to sit down and think about, have I got well-being? And I would encourage you to link this into one-to-one time, appraisal time, PDR times, planning budgets for the future. Where are we going with all of this? Am I looking after myself? And also, therefore, am I looking after my team? If we haven't got good well-being, are we really good at looking after ourselves? And therefore, can we look after and support others? Often the answer is no. Might be in the short term the answer is yes, but in the long run the answer is going to be no. So having team members with low well-being can affect everybody, mood swings. So we do need to start stepping in and having perhaps some courageous and potentially difficult conversations. We need to take action and just not let things sort themselves out, which sometimes we can be good at doing. So how do you notice if a team member is struggling and perhaps have low well-being? Well, look at how they communicate with others, how they communicate on the phone to customers, how do they talk to colleagues, perhaps if they're working remotely, do they engage in Teams meetings, and what's their proactive versus reactive qualities of their work and how effective are they? Please start to think about these things, and then you can start to think about, okay, I need to start having conversations. So how do you approach and have conversations with people? Well, I think a lot of the time we just got to get into the position of saying, how are you? Oh, I'm fine, everything's great. No, but how are you? And sometimes come away from the task list. Instead of just asking, have you done this, have you done that, where are you up to that? How are you feeling? How are you finding working, perhaps if they're working remotely? How are you finding working with a team or a customer or a client or another part of the business? Just ask some better questions to get the conversation going. Now, quite often managers say to me, I had a chat with them and they didn't really say anything. No. Would you on the first occasion? But you've got to then start opening up the questions and the conversations on a more regular basis. and then help the person feel comfortable that they can talk to you. You can't resolve everyone's problems if they've got poor well-being, but it doesn't stop you from understanding and perhaps helping them to help themselves. But there's perhaps support mechanisms within the business, and by you just showing a more interest in them, that can often help them. So please do not avoid having these conversations. Think about your own levels of emotional intelligence in appreciation and understanding how other people may be feeling and reacting to situations. And track progress and go out of your way. How's things going? Before we talk about the work situation, I know we've had some conversations about the difficulties you're having with perhaps home life or relationships or health or perhaps they've got injuries or difficult situations. How's all that going? And just showing interest. You don't have to solve their problems, but doesn't stop your understanding. And it's a good way of making the right impact. But as we keep saying for all these videos, it's important that your well-being is good, so you can support others in their well-being. So it's great to see that you're still with me on this, and because of that, in the description below is a free download. So please, as a manager, have these conversations. Notice the little differences in people. Perhaps there's other people that you trust and you can say, how do you feel so-and-so's getting on? Have you noticed any behavioural differences and issues? Start bringing these conversations up the agenda and having the conversations and blocking out quality time to have these conversations. Try not necessarily to do them on a Teams call if you're working remotely. Try and create the opportunity that you can do it face-to-face when people do come into the office. Now, I know that's a bit of a juggling act at the moment, but it does make a huge difference. And quite often there can be a lot of well-being issues that go under the radar is because we're working remotely and nobody's really having those conversations. So owe it to yourself and owe it to your people to have good quality conversations about well-being. So thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and naturally any questions, please do get in contact.